and they prayed the rosary all night long during the fire, and nobody that was on the property was harmed. The bishop is asking for our participation. What do you think about her cause? Well, this has been going on in different areas around the United States for a couple centuries.
Adele, at this point, she has this vision of Our Lady. What does she do from there?
Mary, the mother of Jesus, is watching over us in all that we do for her son in order to help bring us closer to him. Is a great thing.
Welcome back to the Everyday Saint podcast. Today we are at my personal favorite place on earth, which is the National Shrine of Our Lady of Champion. And we are here with Father Nathan, who's part of the Fathers of Mercy here at the shrine. So welcome, Father Nathan.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
Yes, well, can you just start off by, I know some of the listeners, they might have listened to the episode I did with the Shrine of Our Lady of Champion last year as part of my Shrine Tour series, but this podcast specifically, we want to focus on the new servant of God, Adele Brice. So would you be able to maybe share the story of Our Lady of Champion, more from the perspective of Adele?
Adele was a Belgian immigrant, came to America with her family to reap the new prosperous fruits in this new land. They ended up with a lot of other Belgian immigrants here in northern Wisconsin. In the 1850s, she was living what would be considered a normal farm life for a Belgian immigrant woman. She was in her mid-20s at the time, when in 1859, taking wheat to the flour mill to be ground, along a trail through the woods, she saw a beautiful lady, clothed all in white, appearing between two trees, a maple tree and a hemlock tree, which you'll see in a lot of the paintings and images of Our Lady of Champion. During this first apparition, Mary said nothing to her, and she said nothing to the beautiful lady who appeared, and she went on. She did not see a repeat of this vision on her way back, but the next Sunday, as she went to Sunday Mass with two of her friends, the lady appeared again between the two trees, and the friends didn't see her, but Adele did, and a little shook up. When she got to the church, she talked to the priest about it. During that conversation, the priest said, well, why don't you ask her in the name of God, who is she? And you have to realize, this is probably something they hadn't heard news of Lourdes yet, which had happened just the year earlier. Marian apparitions weren't quite as big a thing to talk about as they are now. Maybe she had heard of the miraculous medal in France, but we don't really know if that was the case or not. So this is a new experience for her. So of course she goes to a priest to ask, what should I do? And he says, in the name of God, ask her who she is. And it's on that trip back from the church back home that she runs into the lady again. And she asks, in the name of God, who are you? And Mary says, I am the Queen of Heaven. She asks Adele why she isn't doing anything for the kingdom of heaven, like her friends back in Belgium are, who joined an order of religious sisters who were teaching catechism. Then Our Lady exhorts her to teach the children their catechism, how to make the sign of the cross, how to say the Our Father, and to do penance for the conversion of sinners, and to pray for the conversion of sinners. And then ends with those consoling words, which lots of people love to hear, and which I often go back to myself, that go and fear nothing, I am with you. And I think that at the end of these strange and wonderful events, that those were very consoling for Adele to hear, to know that Mary would be with her, even though she might not see her again.
Yeah, I can imagine with her experience of not knowing anything about Marian apparitions, all of a sudden this lady is appearing to her, telling her to go on this mission that, from my understanding, it doesn't necessarily seem like Adele was maybe the most qualified, which is often who God comes to, right? Is who doesn't maybe seem like the person who's going to be the most obvious choice for his mission. And yet he appears to Adele, who's just this person who just came to Wisconsin, is now facing the harsh winters and everything that Wisconsin brings here. And this is where Our Lady chooses to appear. So I can imagine just this message, I'm going to be with you, would be incredibly consoling for her.
Yeah. And yeah, because she had already been separated from a lot of friends back in Belgium and from her original idea of what she was called to, right? She wanted to be a religious sister to teach catechism with a group of sisters in Champion, Belgium. And it's actually because of Adele that the city here is called Champion. When they were trying to decide what to name the city, she overheard that this discussion was going on, and she said, well, why not call it Champion? which was really neat because she had made a promise to Mary when she was a young girl, she and some friends, to serve Our Lady in Champion. And with the naming of the town as Champion, she's now able to fulfill that promise and serve Our Lady in Champion, carrying out that promise from her girlhood and bringing another piece of familiarity, as it were, into her life.
Right. Well, and also with it being Champion, like how cool of a title is that for like Our Lady of Champion? Whenever I talk to people about it, they're like, oh, like that's a really cool title. It's like, no, that's actually the city name is Champion, and it also just happens to work really well when you have a Marian Apparition here, that it also sounds cool.
Yeah.
Which is great. So Adele, at this point, she has this vision of Our Lady. What does she do from there?
She begins to carry it out. I'm not sure like what exactly the timeline is, but she began to travel around the Door County Peninsula and Green Bay area, the whole Bay settlement area here, and teach families their catechism. She would show up at somebody's house and they would bring her in for a couple days, and she would talk to the kids about the catechism and teach them prayers and about how to go to Mass and what are the 10 Commandments. And then she would go on to another house. And she didn't just do this alone. She ended up getting some other young women who wanted to help her do this, to the point that she started a third order Franciscan community. So where they lived in common and got permission even to wear a religious habit, even though they were just third order. But this is why we see Adele dressed in a religious habit, and often referred to in writings as Sister Adele. Even though she took no formal public vows, she certainly lived the life of a religious and those evangelical counsels of poverty, chastity, and obedience for all of her life after that point. Beyond teaching in the area, they eventually, after her father built a small log chapel at the site, and then later they built a much bigger church, and then a much bigger church after that, to the current facility, which is the fourth building on the property, I think, the current chapel that was built in the 1940s. But Adele in the 1870s, they built a schoolhouse, which still stands on the site to this day.
Right, which is so neat that like she was able to fulfill the mission of Our Lady, like the schoolhouse and the chapel and everything. It still stands on the grounds of where the apparition happened, right?
Yeah.
Like you can come and visit and see these things that she both built and also commemorate the visions that she had of Our Lady.
Yeah, and we see the fruit of that. This is a true Marian apparition. When the bishop was looking at whether to approve this or not, he looked at what have been the fruits of this apparition, and they've been nothing but good. With continued catechetical learning, the schoolhouse operated as a school and a boarding house and in different ways throughout the years until, I believe, until the 90s or early 2000s, when it became now part of the shrine grounds as our cafe and gift shop. I still meet today some older women who remember having been here as young girls and gone to school with the sisters here in the schoolhouse.
No way.
Yeah. They say it's changed a lot, but they still remember and can talk about what they learned here at a boarding school when it was being run back in the 60s and 70s, I believe.
And it would have still been run by the same order that Adele started here, or
not anymore.
Okay.
It was in the hands of another religious order of sisters.
Got it. Okay, I wasn't sure if there was any overlap. Like they would have known someone who personally knew Adele at that point.
It's possible. As you know, we've opened the cause for Adele on January 30th, and part of that has come with now we're gathering in witness testimonies as well as any historical information that we can get. And so we have families coming forward, people coming forward with, we have stories passed down in our family of Adele teaching my great-grandfather, or we remember my grandfather or grandmother remember coming out here as a small child to pray the rosary. So there is still a living history with the people in the area continuing in the faith from the time of Sister Adele.
Which is so neat to hear about, right? Like to hear these stories of how close this now servant of God, like she's on her way to sainthood in little small town Wisconsin, especially because I've always been fascinated by this Marian apparition in the sense that it was kind of, actually I was talking to a friend about it, and no pun intended, I called it like a slow burn of an apparition site, which is funny because the Great Fire happened in that one. So I put it, so slow burn, I was like, oh, that's kind of, no pun intended, but it just hasn't gotten any traction. Really, since 2008, I think, is when it was approved. Is that
2010.
Right? 2010.
December 2010.
Yes,
yeah.
that it was approved as an apparition by Bishop Ricken. But this apparition happened in the 1800s. So for it to have happened so far after that happened, and her to be declared a servant of God on, I think I saw it was her 190th birthday, right?
Yeah, that's right.
So it's like been a while, right?
Yeah.
Like we've been waiting a long time for this to happen, and kind of what I've heard is that it was just such a local devotion. Like the people of Wisconsin really had a love for Our Lady of Champion and the apparition here, and it just didn't get the same, just like same attention as like Our Lady of Lourdes, which happened just the year before that. So I'm sure there's probably just like all these people coming forward with all these stories because it stayed kind of in that family unit a little bit more.
Yeah, and you could see that in many ways with the events that have happened even here. It's just, I think, overshadowed by other things that were going on in the United States. The Civil War happened, broke out not too long afterwards. We even see it they talk about the Great Peshtigo Fire, which relates back to the miracle of the fire here at the shrine. It's one of the greatest losses of life in a natural disaster in the history of the United States. But the Peshtigo Fire happened at the same time as the Chicago Fire. And everybody talks about in history books the Great Chicago Fire, but not a lot about the Peshtigo Fire, in which many more people died. But that same sort of overshadowing, I think, happens with the apparition of Our Lady, which is nice because you have kind of this homespun apparition site, which has remained very small, but since the approval, it's just been growing bigger and bigger. I looked back when I visited here in 2011. I was looking at some pictures I took then, and I was like, wow, it's changed a lot. We've expanded a lot. The where people can light candles downstairs has grown immensely. But I'll just mention quickly that miracle of the fire that happened.
Right, that's pretty important.
Yeah, it is, because that really set the shrine in the hearts of a lot of people. I mean, the catechism and the teaching and all that was very good, but when the Great Peshtigo Fire happened, and Peshtigo and many of those places on the western side of Green Bay were ravaged by fire, great loss of life. Fire also occurred here on the Door County Peninsula, and just spread across the peninsula, some thinking from sparks carried over on the winds from the Peshtigo Fire on the other side. And when the fire started spreading here on the peninsula, many farmers, a lot of Catholic farmers, Belgians, brought their families and their livestock to the shrine grounds. And the shrine property at the time was bounded by a fence, which is now in back of the apparition chapel. And they prayed the rosary all night long during the fire. And nobody that was on the property was harmed. There are stories of the fence was burned on one side, but still pristine on the other side. One of the priests who survived the fire on the Peshtigo side came over here to the shrine, and he said it looked like an emerald in a sea of ash, because the grounds themselves were still green, the grass itself hadn't burned, while everything else around was blackened. And the people attribute their survival to Our Lady's intercession and the praying of the rosary. That great miracle we still commemorate on the anniversary, so we have a really cool, what we call the Shrine Triduum, as it were, because we have Our Lady of the Rosary on October 7th. We have the anniversary of the Peshtigo Fire on October 8th, and then the anniversary of Our Lady's apparition here on the grounds on October 9th. So they all are right together in that 3-day space, which is one of our bigger events of the year here at the shrine.
Oh, I'm sure, right?
Yeah.
So that's amazing that this people were saved on the same day as like the anniversary of the apparition site. Like that's totally God's timing and His providence in that, because Mary could have picked any day to have appeared, and that day didn't mean anything at the time, and then for it to really give extra meaning to it then, as all of these people in good faith flocked to the apparition site seeking safety from this really deadly fire. And then Our Lady pulled through for that, right?
Yeah.
And if I remember correctly, they prayed a rosary around the shrine ground. So
Yep.
they were outside, like still
In the middle of
facing-
the flames and the smoke. They weren't hiding inside. They were outside. Yeah.
outside praying to Our Lady. That's really beautiful. What do you think people who visit and maybe have a Marian devotion like that, what can they kind of learn from Our Lady of Champion in general and this message that she was giving to Adele?
I think what they can pull out of it is this message to go and teach the catechism. A lot of us need to learn the faith better. This is one of the things the Fathers of Mercy do in our parish missions, is bringing people back to the faith, and oftentimes teaching them new things about the faith that maybe they didn't learn. And I think coming away from this shrine, not only often asking for intercession for miracles and healing and help, but learning what it means to spread the faith to others, to carry out that continued mission that Adele was given, to teach the catechism, to teach the prayers. My hope is that people are inspired to do that. America needs to learn Catholicism and what it means to draw close to God in the one true church.
Like, this is making me see just how fitting it being like, it's America's Marian Apparition, right? And here we have servant of God, Adele Brice, who's on her way hopefully to be another American saint. But what an incredible teaching to remember to like actually learn. Like, that was Our Lady of Champion's whole message. And I just kind of see like the American culture being so full of hustle and busyness that, yes, we're like taking in a lot of information quite often, listening to podcasts, like watching YouTube videos. Education is quite important here, but yet like we get all this information but don't often analyze it and really allow it to like sink into our day-to-day lives and what we should be really taking from this information to impact our lives. So to have Our Lady of Champion here, who's giving the message to learn, but then to learn so well that you can actually go and teach it and evangelize. Like, that's really important.
To take it in. And if you think about it, I mean, I'm sure that's something that Mary and Joseph were doing with the child Jesus, teaching him the old law and helping him to learn and understand the scriptures, and not just sight knowledge. I mean, they were teaching the word to the word of God, and that's something. Why do we learn the faith? Why did Mary want children to know the faith? So that they might be drawn closer to Christ. It's the whole pull of Our Lady, and of her message to the saints, one of which we hope Adele will join their ranks soon as her cause is open. Yeah.
Right. So, as I mentioned earlier, it was her 190th birthday. She was declared a servant of God. So what kind of was that process like leading up to her being declared a servant of God? And kind of where do we stand in that process now?
Yeah. So right now the cause is open, but leading up to that, the bishop had to open up investigations into the cause. That started in May 2024 when the shrine asked the bishop to please look into the possibility of opening up Adele's cause. The bishop looked into that. He consulted his brother bishops about, is this something that we should pursue? And they all said, it was a unanimous vote, yes, let's do that. And then he proceeded to open up a period of investigation in which the diocese asked to receive from the people of God, is there interest in having Adele's cause opened? And there was. And as the bishop prayed through the responses that he was receiving, he eventually decided that that cause would be open, that it was desired by the people of God, by the petitioner, the shrine, of course, and what the Holy Spirit was laying on his own heart to start this off. That time of consultation amongst the faithful ended on January 30th of this year, 2026, when Bishop Ricken said, we are opening Adele Brice's cause. And with that opening of the cause, they have to appoint a historical commission to look into the history of her life, to compile all the documents about Adele, about her life, and about the apparition. Then there has to be theological censors who go through, and they're going to try to figure out what's theologically correct and what's not, and understand what she said during her life and what she saw. And then there's also, they're asking for interviews and testimonies from people who have experienced Adele's intercession from heaven, but also those who have those family stories passed down through generations or have correspondence or other writings about her from when she was alive.
Yeah, I never realized how much part like the family of God took in this, like that we also have a role in people's canonizations,
Yeah.
right? Like you hear about it, like, you know, like you'll see like the Pope actually canonize someone, and it's kind of fun to hear about like this process beforehand and how involved the people are, and then advocating essentially in some ways for then these people to be declared servant of God's blesseds. And then I mean they need us for miracles too, right? To be asking for their prayers and their intercession. I'm curious, as people have come forward with stories, what have we learned about Adele? Like what was she like?
I haven't been involved in that part of it so much, so I don't have a lot of things. I've read some of her letters that she wrote when she was in charge of the schoolhouse, but most of those were business oriented, with asking families for, please send money to help take care of your child who is being boarded here, who's costing us food, and we want to continue to educate your child, but in justice we need help to do so. Yeah, which was a common thing amongst many schools at the time, religious schools. Everybody needed money.
Why would someone look to Adele for inspiration, right? Like we have kind of the message of Our Lady of Champion, but I've always kind of felt bad in some ways for like the visionaries of Marian apparitions, because obviously, and for a right reason, like the apparition itself gets kind of all of the glory. It's like, you know, of like Our Lady of Lourdes and Our Lady of Fatima, but then there's also Saint Bernadette, who is the visionary at Our Lady of Lourdes, and then the three children at Our Lady of Fatima. So if someone were to really want to look into Adele and her life, are there specific things that maybe they would personally be devoted to that they could resonate with her?
Yeah, I think you can find out more about her story at adelebrice.org and read about her life and some of the things that she had to struggle with. She had an eye injury when she was younger, before she came to America. She still carries that injury in her face. It's very visible. So a lot of people pray to her for help with problems with their eyes. I often encourage catechists and those who teach to pray for her intercession, to ask for her help in making the kids that they're teaching receptive to what they're bringing to them. I think her own hardships in dealing with lack of money as she tried to carry out God's plan for her school and for this area can also be something to ask for her intercession for. And as well, even dealing with being in a new place with new people, having come over here from Belgium, could be something to pray about as well. Yeah.
Definitely. There's a couple different things that we can look to her to, which is really neat. Something someone recommended to me too with her story is for travelers, because she would walk on foot to all of these different houses to help catechize their children. So yeah, definitely teachers, catechists, people who are traveling. She would be great to turn to, especially in the Midwest where we're always road tripping.
Right.
Out here.
Got to drive to get everywhere.
Yes, that'd be a great patron to look to. And then, as we were talking about earlier, we briefly mentioned the American Saints. Could you tell us a little bit more about what's happening with the Shrine and American Saints, especially seeing that Servant of God, Adele Brice, would be put into this category of American Saints, which is so cool. We're reaching that point where we're seeing more and more.
So this year, it's 250 years since the founding of America, right? Which is a pretty big deal. And we at the Shrine wanted to emphasize the fact that the Catholic faith has been living healthily in America since almost its very beginning. I mean, since its discovery by a Catholic, Christopher Columbus. And so this year we'll be celebrating from July 1st to July 9th a novena in honor of the American Saints. There are over 70 different American Saints causes, and we will be celebrating them all here in the American Saints exhibit that we'll have. We will have all these different boards on display telling about the life of the saint, have pictures of them, where they're from, how they got here, and what they did for the service of God, and how their work continues. We have 50 or more different saints guilds participating in this project. We're going to have relics of American saints here, such as St. John Neumann from from Philadelphia, Elizabeth Ann Seton, and others. One of the great things about it is that it's not just the saints, it's also the blesseds, the venerables, and the servants of God. Because we want to include Adele in this and all of those others whose causes have been started and are being pursued around the United States. As you said, for many of the people in Green Bay, it was a cool thing to hear, oh, we've got somebody whose cause is starting and we're part of this. The bishop is asking for our participation. What do you think about her cause? Well, this has been going on in different areas around the United States for a couple centuries, almost since the first causes were started, where people have been asked, what do you think about the cause of this person? This has happened in New Orleans, in Louisiana. This has happened on the East Coast, of course, with some of those saints that I've mentioned. This has happened in the Midwest with saints like Catherine Drexel. It's happened out on the West Coast with saints like Junipero Serra. It's happened in the northern United States as well. You have Blessed Solanus Casey. We have all these different saints, blesseds, venerables, servants of God whose causes are open, that even as we were putting this project together, we were learning a lot about that we had never heard of. And so we're happy to bring that to people here at the shrine and to celebrate with the place the place in the United States of America where Mary appeared. We want to celebrate all of these saints who lived, worked, or died here in the United States of America as well.
Yeah, that is so cool that we can pull all this together. And like, there's so much more than we even realize is there. Even as I've talked to people about Our Lady of Champion, I mean, this isn't a terribly well-known Marian Apparition, even though it's the only one, like only approved one in the United States. And it's great. We get to inform people, one, about this apparition site, but then also about all of these people in heaven who want to pray for us too. Like, that's a huge part of it. You can come here. You can come here for spiritual healing. You can come here just to come and appreciate the fact that it's a Marian apparition, and then to come and be able to also venerate all of these servant of God, blesseds, and saints whose relics will be here and ask for their intercession as well. I mean, that's a pretty powerful punch.
Yeah. To see that other Catholics were able to become holy and imitate God so well in this land of the free and home of the brave, to be an inspiration for us to do the same through their intercession and through the intercession of Our Lady, especially Our Lady of Champion. That's a great thing.
Are there any saints or blesseds in this project that you've learned about that you're really excited that they're taking part of the exhibit?
There are a few. I've been involved with the Shrine of the North American Martyrs. The Shrine of Our Lady of Martyrs, which commemorates the North American martyrs up in New York, where Isaac Jogues died. Saint Isaac Jogues, Saint René Goupil, and Saint Jean de Lalande. All three, Saint Isaac Jogues, and I think it's 3 who actually died in New York. The others were martyrs in Canada. So I've been working with them. I love Isaac Jogues and that missionary spirit. But as well, one of the ones that we were excited to learn about were the Shreveport martyrs. We had never heard of them. But these priests who went to treat victims of the yellow fever, and they knew they would die when they got there. They knew they would probably get sick and die. And it happened to one, I don't remember their names off the top of my head, but one went down. As he ministered to the people, he got sick, passed away. So a second one, they heard that the priest who was there had died, so he volunteered. Everybody held a big party for him to say goodbye, and then he went off, ministered to the people, died of yellow fever. Third priest went as well. And I remember 3. It might have been 4 or 5. So it's been a couple months since I read their story. But they are one of those I think about. Oftentimes we tend to push the sick kind of to the fringes, and these priests were like, no, we'll give our lives to bring them Jesus in the Eucharist and the last rites.
Wow, that's really special.
Yeah.
So and I can only imagine just how many saints people will learn about in having this exhibit here. It's just so much to the faith that there is yet to learn. So if someone maybe thinks about coming and visiting the Shrine of Our Lady of Champion or looking more into Adele, is there anything in particular you'd really hope for them to take away, or anything that you really hope them to look into?
I think there's a lot of things to look at when you come visit the shrine. Check out championshrine.org to see more of that. I think taking away from here the consolation that Mary, the mother of Jesus, is watching over us in all that we do for her son in order to help bring us closer to him is a great thing. One of the things that we do here, we offer confession twice a day here at the shrine, sometimes 3 times, depending on how free we are. And that has been one of the places where I've seen the most miracles, as it were, as souls raised from the dead. People came back to the faith, and oftentimes it's because they were already learning about the faith, and they're like, all right, this is my opportunity to go to confession. So I love it when people are able to leave their sins here and take away this renewed devotion to Mary, who is the image and model of the church that they've just been reunited to by that sacrament.
Oh, that's so sweet. Yeah, and yeah, I'm sure as you were talking about like education and reflection earlier, I mean, that's kind of a lot of what confession is too in general, but it's like a education on yourself almost, and like then ministering a sacrament that really touches the heart, because I think, you have to do the examine and think about the ways that you've fallen short, the ways that you have been able to praise God well since the last time you went to confession. So it's an opportunity to quiet your heart, to think about that, and then to go and actually like be rid of those sins.
Yeah. Even last fall on this subject, I gave a class on frequent confession here at the shrine. We just went through a book called Frequent Confession. It's Placed in the Spiritual Life by Benedict Bauer. It's published by Sophia Institute Press or Scepter Press. And we just went through the book. I've even got a short YouTube video series at Champion Shrine YouTube's page on frequent confession. If anybody's wondering why go to confession more than the minimum of once a year, well, that video series will answer that question for you. But it's on how to make good use of that sacrament and fully receive all of the healing benefits from it.
Mm-hmm. Right, which is often why people will come to Marian apparitions in general, all over the world, that they're seeking some sort of healing, and to know that they can come to a place that's somewhat like easy to get to, right? Like comparatively to like Europe, right? Someplace in Wisconsin that you can come in and seek physical healing, but also spiritual healing. And granted, they can go to their home parishes as well, but we don't want to neglect the spiritual healing that happens at these places, even if we don't always experience physical healing in the way that we hope to, or those sort of miracles. Like there's so many miracles that happen behind the spiritual veil, if you will, that we don't always see, but yet God is like giving grace and giving it in abundance. Yeah. But you must get to see that every day, right?
I do,
like
every day in the confessional. Yeah, by one estimation, we probably heard about 12,000 confessions last year.
12,000
on the property. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's incredible. Wow. Oh, and it's just so neat too. I've been to some of the events here, and you guys will have it like in the yard that you can just walk up and be able to go to confession, and it's so easy and so available. And just to be on Marian Apparition and go to confession. That's awesome.
Yep.
Wow. So as people maybe think about this apparition and going forward, and specifically with Adele, is there anything that we can be doing to like take part of her canonization cause, or anything maybe we should like be keeping an eye out for?
Yeah, I would encourage people to pray for Adele's intercession for different things. We have, if you go to adelebrice.org, you'll see we've got a sort of official prayer for Adele's intercession. And that's certainly a great way to pray for her intercession, and at that same website, adelebrice.org, to let us know, or not let us know, but let the cause know if there are any miracles or favors received through her intercession. And of course, to keep up with us on our on the different social media platforms with Champion Shrine, you'll hear news as we continue to move forward with this cause. This cause could take years. It might this might still be something ongoing during our lifetime. We don't know how long it will take. We are certainly praying for it to be a quick thing. I would love to see the canonization happen during my lifetime.
And with an American Pope. Like, imagine
with an
how
American
cool
Pope,
that would be.
That would be awesome.
It's not up to us, but that would be really cool.
Yeah.
Oh Oh,
It would.
wow, so neat to see. And I'm just curious. I thought of this as you were, mentioning to pray to Adele. Is there a reason someone would pray for the intercession of Adele versus praying for the intercession of Our Lady of Champion? Because I know they can kind of get intermixed, right? So
Right.
what would kind of the difference be?
The difference would be just kind of wanting to be, I don't want to say wanting to be part of that cause, but certainly any miracles received through Adele's intercession would go towards Adele's cause. While prayers to Our Lady of Champion, well, she's already been approved. And I'm not saying don't pray to Our Lady of Champion. By all means, do. But it would also be really cool to have those prayers offered just for Adele's intercession so that you can be part of her being canonized one day. What a great privilege to receive a miracle from the Lord and be part of her canonization and becoming a saint. It's a great thing.
Absolutely. So now they need to pray for her intercession. They need to come and visit Our Lady of Champion.
Yeah.
You can see the apparition site. You also, her grave is right outside of the oratory
That's right.
where Mary appeared. So you can go and visit the spot that she's buried with some of her other sisters, I know as well, which is really amazing. Is there anything else, Father, you'd like to mention about the shrine here or about the cause for Adele before we go? Any last reflections?
This July, that first week of July 1st through 9th, as we are doing the American Saints Project, in the middle of that will be the anniversary of Adele's death, which is July 5th. So that's going to be a big day here as we're celebrating the anniversary of the country on July 4th. So we're praying to all of the American saints, the 1st through the 9th, but that July 5th we'll be having special masses that day on Adele's anniversary, celebrating the anniversary of her death and what we hope was her entrance to heaven.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you, Father, so much for coming on and for sharing about Adele and Our Lady and for all that you do here at the shrine, too. I was doing a little video before this and just saying, like, if you ever come here, you have to go to confession because they're, like, the best confessors here. So,
well, thank you.
Yeah, thank you for all that you do at the shrine and for coming on today.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure, Eve. Thank you.